Hi, this is Superintendent of Schools Bill Olson, and welcome to another program of Education Matters, where we talk about the people and the programs in our school system. Today I have a special guest, one of the newest staff members who was hired this past summer in our school system, and a critical staff member, and that's Julie Elkin. Julie is the Director of Digital Learning for our entire school system. So Julie, welcome.
Thank you. Bill.
Welcome to Education Matters. And you came to us, let's see, from the Holliston Public Schools, if I remember correctly. And
that's right.
Give us a little bit of background. I think our viewers would be interested in knowing who you are, where you've been, and what experience you've had in education.
Well, I've been in education a while, and I went to college in England and grew up in England, and I also taught in England for a long while. And I majored in French, and then I went and taught at a middle school in England, and I was and actually it was a large middle school, and it had a high school attached to it, so it had grades from 6 through 12. And so in England you don't just become a 7th grade teacher or a 6th grade teacher, you are a teacher at that school. So in any one day you can have students from grade 6 through 12 in your, one after the other. So you may teach 6th grade, then 8th grade, then 12th grade in one day. So that was my first job, and I loved it. I was a French teacher, and I loved it. But I couldn't get to know the children very well, the students, because it was 40 minutes at a time, and then they were gone. And so I moved into elementary education and became an elementary teacher, and I really loved that. It was great. And then I came over here, and I was able to blend my two loves of elementary education and French by becoming a French immersion teacher in 3rd grade in Holliston. And I loved that job because it was wonderful. The French immersion program there is a total immersion program, so the students come to school and all I did was speak French to them all day long. But I taught them social studies and I taught them the 3rd grade subjects, but they learnt it in French. So that was a really good blend of skills for me. But then I had the opportunity to take a master's degree in instructional technology, and I really, this was in the late 90s, and I really enjoyed using technology in the classroom. In 1997, I had a web page with all my spelling lists out, my newsletter for parents. I had all sorts of things out on the web page for students, and so I could see that there was a future in here. So I was excited to do the master's degree. So so then after that, I was able to. Immediately I got a job in Holliston as an integration specialist. And so for the last 13 years I've really enjoyed working with the teachers and students to integrate technology into the curriculum. And of course over those 13 years it's changed. The technology in 2000 is very different to the technology now. So the job evolves, the skill sets of the teachers evolves, and the needs of the teachers and the needs of the students evolves. But over that time I've come to love teaching and helping students and teachers see how they can use the technology to better understand and demonstrate their learning and make their thinking more visible.
Good. It's we'll talk a little bit later about how electronic devices have changed in general. I can remember many, many years ago when I was in the Lowell school system, of course the systems were very large, and now, we have students working from their cell phones and other electronic devices, and but we'll save that for a little bit later. What is it that makes you so passionate about teaching?
I love working with children. I think you have to, especially if you work at middle school age students, you really have to love children, and I love working with students and children. But I love their curiosity and creativity, and I like sparking that. And when I have a tall, hulking, great, bigger than me 8th grade boy banging at my door at 7 o'clock in the morning, wanting to to see me because he wants to prove that has reached a level of fluency in reading a Spanish story so that he can create a podcast and he can create a performance. To me, that's really exciting, that student is motivated and excited to show what he can do and is determined to do a good job and enjoy it. And so to me, that's really exciting to do something like that.
That speaks volumes about your passion for this profession. And you've talked about having taught at many different levels, both elementary and middle school. Tell me a little bit about your style, your teaching style, because that's important to me, because that translates to how you're going to look towards integrating technology into our school system with colleagues. So tell me about your style, your teaching style over the years.
My style is very much student-centered, putting the learning, the ownership of the learning in the students' hands as much as possible, helping them become independent learners, having them be interactive, active learners. So they're not just passive receivers of information. So how would that look like in the classroom? I can think of a great example of online discussion boards, how we've used technology to really bring out students' thinking, and my style of teaching will support that, because they are, you get a student who's very quiet in the classroom and doesn't feel comfortable participating in discussions, or is reticent to put their point of view across in the classroom. I like to put on a discussion board online, mm-hmm. and have the students participate in that. So that gives them, perhaps the night before that you're going to have the discussion in the classroom, so that gives them a stepping board, a chance to think about what they're doing and then edit it, perhaps respond to somebody else, and then they can come back the next day, and as a teacher I can say, okay, I've read your discussion from last night, everyone. Johnny, what do you think about that? You said this on this discussion board last night. What do you think about that? And can you extend and elaborate on what you said last night? So that's my style of teaching, trying to give students the opportunity to give them a voice, to mm-hmm. demonstrate their thinking, demonstrate their learning, and use technology to do that in a non-threatening way. So just a simple thing like an online discussion board can do that. Yeah,
very much helps students to shape their own learning, mm-hmm. much more so than years ago. Now, Westford is quite a distance from Holliston. In fact, you used to live in Holliston, if I remember correctly. What is it that attracted you to this particular job? Well,
obviously, it's a great school system, and it's a great community. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, what attracted me was that there wasn't huge amounts of technology. There wasn't a one-to-one system already, program already in place. Mm-hmm. And frankly, for me, that was a great thing, because getting to know, talking with you at interview and talking, doing some research, what I found was that the school district had not jumped in to putting computers in front of students. And to me that was very exciting, because so many school districts, local school districts, have done that. They've said, oh yes, we need a one-to-one program. And they've jumped on that bandwagon and they said, let's do it. Now what device are we going to get? And okay, how are we going to fund it? Let's do it. And 6 months down the road, they're looking at each other and they're saying, okay, well, we've achieved this, we've got this, but what are we really doing with it? Mm-hmm. How does it really impact student learning? So my philosophy on using computers in the classroom is much more focused about the learning. you know, how is it going to impact student learning? How is it going to help teachers make concepts clearer for students? How is it going to engage students? What are our goals for using the technology? And so I was very excited when I learned about Westford and their very thoughtful approach to not having put computers in the classroom without a purpose and not do it. So they're going to think about it and do it strategically. And for me, I have looked around a lot of communities and they're using technology, and I'm aware of quite a few communities, and I found that there aren't many that have done it have done that have thought about it like you have.
And that's nice to hear, because we've tried to take, particularly in the last 8 or 9 years, a more deliberate approach, and for many years, the thought, I think, in this profession was, well, let's buy technology, and just by the very nature of buying it and putting it in front of staff or students, wonderful things are going to happen. But the key issue is, how does that match with, and how is that used to support what we want teachers to know and do, and what we want children to know and do? And so I was never a fan of just buying equipment and as sort of a showpiece and saying we have millions of dollars of technology if we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. And so that's one of the reasons why we haven't jumped in immediately to a one-to-one initiative. First of all, we don't know what the academic impact is of a one-to-one achievement. Does it appreciably increase student achievement or not? And secondly, we need to know, once again, what our curriculum needs and what is it that we want to purchase, and it may be different electronic devices, and how do we want to deploy them to maximize the ability of students to develop that enduring understanding that we expect of them. So, and that's one of the things, quite honestly, that I liked in terms of my interview of you, is that you took that same approach, is that what do we want children to know and be able to do, and therefore how do we utilize technology most efficiently in that learning process? And that's important not only to students and to teachers, but also the taxpayers, because this is a community that doesn't receive a lot of federal aid, and relatively speaking, a smaller amount of state aid, various types of state aid, compared to other communities, particularly urban communities. And so it's difficult for Westford to fund programs and services to the extent that might be possible. The town has done a wonderful job doing it, but it's a struggle, and it will continue to be. And you mentioned, I want to go back to something for a minute. Years and years ago, I was in the Lowell School Department, and back in the mid-1980s, it was the assistant superintendent of schools in Lowell, and we had a company that was a British company that approached us, and quite honestly, I thought it was a very good computer at the time. Unfortunately, they had no market share in the United States, and I don't think went anywhere in the country, but it was the Acorn computer. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do.
That one, and you can give me your opinion of that, but at the time, I looked at that, and I said, that's a computer, and the operating system it had seemed to be every bit as sophisticated as Apple at a particular time.
In England, it was a competitor. Yes.
Yeah. Does it, to this day, does it have a market share in England?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's too bad, because it's in its inception it looked like a very good computer. I don't think there's a situation where a company seemed to have a good product, but maybe not the business model to bring it to a larger scale in terms of sales across not only England but the United States. And I was impressed with it, but knew at that time that it had such a small market share, and third-party software companies weren't writing software for it, that it probably was not going to succeed. Now, we've had a number of devices on the market for a period of time. Tell me about your thoughts of how different pieces of equipment can be of benefit. I know there's a Chromebook, there's iPads, there's notebooks, there's laptops, there's desktops. I think they all have a role in education, and maybe you can help me understand that a little bit. better?
Well, I think that, can I just explain what a Chromebook is to
Sure,
people? Because they may not
absolutely.
know what
Yes,
a
please
Chromebook
do.
is. A Chromebook is just a very simple computer. It's based on the Google browser, and it's a simple computer. It has a USB port, but you can't download. It's not, there's no storage. So you can't download. You can browse. You can, do research. Anything you do on the internet, you can do on the browser. But it's not. It's a very simple machine, and of course the price is cheaper than a full laptop, blown laptop. So that's a Chromebook. And in some situations in schools, it's a very good product. So from my point of view, and I think it's really not about the device. It's about what you want to do. What do you want to achieve in the classroom? So in some circumstances, a Chromebook would be exceptionally useful to teachers. Having access to a Chromebook would be great. If you just want to do word process, if you just want to browse, research, that is a useful tool. But so I don't think it's a matter of iPads or Chromebooks or laptops. It's really about what do the teachers want to do in the classroom? What are their curriculum objectives? And what are the learning outcomes? And what's the best tool that's going to support that? So I think it can look very different in different classrooms, in different situations. So I think it's really about focusing on the learning and then which tool best supports that.
And I know that since you started here, that's one of the issues that you are seeking to develop a strong understanding of in this system. So let me back up a little bit and talk about the time from when you started to today. What is it that you've been involved with in our school system? And I know that, and you know that, but I'd like you to tell the viewers.
Well, I've done a lot of listening, because I think that's really important. Listening, getting to know people, and listening and getting to know the integration specialists. And I've been working a lot with them to work as a team, a cohesive team, because I think they haven't had an opportunity in recent years to work together, and I think that's their strength, because they have the integration specialists have lots of different skills to offer. So working as a team, if we share those skills, then I think we're a really strong team and we can really contribute to, in all sorts of ways, to the public schools. So I've been working a lot with the integration specialists, and one of the things that we are looking at is consistency between schools, trying to look at consistency of access to computers between the schools, consistency of curriculum, technology curriculum between the schools. So, I mean, it's early days, but there are areas of focus for us, because I think consistency is really important to students and parents and teachers.
Good. Now, I know that some of the work you've been doing and continue to do involves a comprehensive needs assessment, a technology needs assessment. If you could tell us a little bit about what that process has involved.
Yes, well, we have an idea, pretty good idea of where we would like to go in the future, but we need to know where we are now. If we don't know where we are now, we won't be able to understand how to get to where we want to be. So we're carrying out a very comprehensive needs assessment, and I have to thank a great team of volunteers who have helped we've worked together to create this needs assessment and to carry it out. So the people are Mary O'Gorman, Lisa Sanderson, Stephanie Goslin, and Lucy Smith, and of course yourself, we've all worked together to create, organise this needs assessment, which has involved a parent survey, which is open until the 16th of January and is on the website. So if parents want to go to that and complete it, they can do. It's very short, and it's for a parent can complete it for more than one child. So you can go back, if you've got a child at more than one school, you can go back and fill it out for each child that you have.
So and that's a link off our main webpage,
yes,
correct? Okay,
yes.
good.
And then we have a teacher survey, and as many teachers as we can, and we are asking them to complete the teacher survey. We're running focus groups, and we're doing focus groups for students at middle school and at high school. And we're doing parent focus group and teacher focus groups as well, and administrator focus groups. And on top of that, we're doing a building observation, classroom observations. And so far we've done nearly 100 classroom observations where we're looking at how technology is being used in the classrooms, and that's across the district. You know, and for this small team, that's a lot to handle and do. So I must thank them, because they've worked so hard to put that together. And the data we collect is going to be aggregated and put together in recommendations for what we need to do in order to move forward towards a digital learning environment. And that will include infrastructure and types of machines that we may need.
Tell me a little bit, you mentioned a digital learning environment. We've always used over the last 10, 15, 20 years the terminology of director of of instructional technology. What is, in your view, the difference between a director of instructional technology and a director of digital learning?
I think what it does is it takes the focus off the instruction and the technology, the tool, and it focuses on the learning, which is where the focus should be. And it really is about any way that technology can be used to strengthen a student's learning experience. So by calling it digital learning, it really does move the focus away from the technology and from the teaching.
We have also had a technology plan in our school system. Is there a difference now? Do we have a digital learning plan as opposed to a technology plan? You know, that nomenclature, the technology plan, has been used by the state for a number of years. And is there a difference in your mind between a digital learning plan and a technology plan?
I think there has to be many similarities, but I think there are a few differences in that a digital learning plan, in my view, should be part of the strategic plan. It shouldn't be it should be an addendum. It shouldn't be something that is outside of the strategic plan, because a digital learning plan must support the district's vision for teaching and learning, because that's what it's there for. And a digital learning plan should be action-oriented. It shouldn't be a document that's written and then is looked at perhaps once or twice in the future, but we need it to be a living, breathing document with an action plan, and we need people to be familiar with it. We need it to be, and we need it to be our life, really.
You know, we've talked a lot about different aspects of technology. One of the issues that comes up from time to time, that in fact we discussed at a meeting today, is keyboarding skills with children. And I believe we need to find some way to provide some information on how children can become more proficient in keyboarding skills. I'm not sure that we will go back to the days of providing that instruction within the school day, because then that comes at the expense of something else. I mean, do you have any ideas from your own experience in terms of how we work with children to develop, and families to develop, keyboarding proficiency?
I'm concerned about it, because I do think we need to. I do think students need to be able to type proficiently in order to be able to take, for example, the PARC test that's coming up. It's only a field test this year, but in the future it could be something that's all students are required to take. And in the PARC test, students will be required at an early age to to type a page of text. So it is something that we need to really consider. It's difficult because there's so many other things that students need to learn at an early age that typing is not something that is easy to say, okay, it's more important to learn to read than it is to type or learn to read. So perhaps there's ways that we could look at, are there programs where their students can learn phonics and type? There are programs like that. So perhaps they could learn, while they're learning to type, they're learning phonics. So you get a bigger bang for your buck, if you like, for students. So it's not a separate thing. Or could we ask parents and work with parents to provide keyboarding at home as homework? I mean, I think it's something we have to start a discussion with parents and teachers.
I agree. And, you know, Julie used the acronym PARC. That's P-A-R-C-C. It's the Program of Assessment for Readiness for College and Career. That's an assessment that has been developed through the chief state school officers across the country and is expected to take the place of the MCAS exam in the next several years. The Board of Education in Massachusetts has not taken a formal vote on it at this point in time, but it is anticipated that the PARC, which is in part at the present time going to be taken both with pencil and paper, but also via technology, will be implemented this next spring on a field test basis. Well, Julie, it has been a pleasure, and it's nice to hear that you were attracted to our school system because of its reputation for quality, and we look forward to you building on that reputation and building the quality of our school system, and I know that you have the skills and the background and the passion to do that. So it's been a pleasure having you on the program. I'll have you back again, probably in about 6 months when the needs assessment and the vision is a little bit farther along, and we'll talk a little bit more about technology. So for today, I want to thank you. It's always great to have you join me and my guest on Education Matters. And I'll see you next time.